The moment I saw steel barricades welded across my ranch gate, I slammed the brakes so hard my truck screeched, kicking up a cloud of red Arizona dust. I sat frozen. The only entrance to my 600-acre family ranch private property passed down through generations was blocked. Metal poles, sunk deep in concrete, bore a sign, "Access denied." HOA regulation zone. No entry without clearance. My knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. This gate was my lifeline to the land, never once under any HOA's control. 2 weeks earlier, I'd laughed off a smug letter from the Silver Ridge HOA claiming they were reviewing territorial rights. My ranch wasn't part of their jurisdiction, so I ignored it. Now, they'd physically cut me off. Something snapped inside me. I wasn't just going to tear down the barricade. No, I'd buy the ground they stood on and make them regret ever crossing me. The sign bore the name of the HOA president, Victor Grayson. And so it began. Let me back up to introduce the players in this mess. I'm Lucas Hayes, 43, a retired Army engineer, owner of the Stone Creek Ranch, inherited through 5 generations. After 20 years of service, I returned to Arizona for a quiet life with my black lab, Shadow. I built a cabin, raised cattle, and kept to myself. Victor Grayson, late 50s, was the new HOA president of Silver Ridge, a nearby community. He drove a sleek SUV, wore monogrammed polos, and treated his HOA badge like a crown. His house sat closest to the private dirt road leading to my ranch, and he acted like he owned it. The HOA board included Margaret Voss, a retired librarian who spied on my truck with binoculars, and Paul Reed, the treasurer who once demanded my tax records for their archive. Here's the kicker. My ranch wasn't in the HOA. A 1978 land preservation clause exempted it from their reach. But Victor and his crew acted like their rules extended everywhere. It started small flyers about voluntary beautification or compliance suggestions. Then a surveyor appeared, measuring trees along my road, claiming it was for boundary alignments. I told him the road was private. He left, but it was a warning. Next, my mailbox was smashed, a flyer beside it reading, "This property needs order." I let it slide. Then, 3 days before the barricade, Shadow went missing. I found him that evening, dirty, a cut on his side, with an HOA tag zip-tied to his collar. Maybe next time he'll stay inside. That was the final straw. When I saw the barricade that Tuesday, my rage wasn't just about the gate height, it was every petty jab leading up to it. I took photos, called the sheriff, and filed a trespassing complaint. But I hit a wall. The road to my gate had been rezoned without my knowledge, approved because no opposition was filed. They played dirty. I needed a lawyer, so I called my cousin, Nathan Hayes, a land acquisition expert who didn't just win case sheet on the battlefield. Over coffee at my cabin, I showed Nathan the photos, the tag, the zoning papers. He set his mug down. "Lucas, we're not just suing them. We're going to own them." His plan? Buy the landscape around Silver Ridge, land the HOA relied on for trails, parks, and views. With my savings, pension, and an inheritance, we could do it. The HOA's community fund depended on that land, so once we owned it, they'd pay us for access. We created a shell company, Desert Star Holdings, and quietly bought 57% of the surrounding land within 2 weeks. Trails, a dog park, wetlands Victor bragged about in newsletters. The key parcel was next to the HOA's entrance, one Victor had tried to buy for years. It belonged to an old rancher, Amos, who hated Victor for filing complaints against his grandkids' noise and rusty wind chimes. When Nathan explained our plan, Amos sold us the land at half market rate, giving us leverage to build a legal private access road through HOA territory. But just as we finalized the deeds, my ranch manager called. "Lucas, the HOA poured concrete into your waterline trench." I raced to the ranch. The trench, meant for waterline repairs, was now a smooth concrete slab with an HOA logo spray-painted in the center. This wasn't a dispute anymore. It was war. Drop your city or state in the comments. How far does this ranch showdown reach? I stood staring at the concrete, my boots sinking into the dirt. They'd done it at night, no permission, no warning, cutting off water to my livestock and crops. Shadow barked, echoing my fury. Victor had gone too far. The county inspector confirmed no permits authorized the concrete, but if it was HOA emergency infrastructure, it could take weeks to resolve. My cattle couldn't wait weeks. That night, I rented a backhoe. At 4:15 a.m., under the desert moon, I tore into the concrete like it was wrapping paper, dust flying, pipes cracking. By sunrise, I'd restored the water flow. By noon, Victor, Margaret, and Paul stood at my property line, arms crossed. "This is destruction of community property," Victor sneered. I didn't look up from the valve I was fixing. "This ain't your community, Victor. It's mine." Margaret clutched her binoculars. "You'll hear from our legal committee." I smirked. "I'm the legal committee now." They didn't know we'd closed on 78% of the land around Silver Ridge. The next day, Nathan sent a letter to the HOA. Desert Star Holdings now owns key landscapes. To maintain access, HOA dues will include a 3x multiplier for usage and maintenance. Noncompliance will result in closure of trails, parks, and entrances. Victor had a meltdown at the HOA clubhouse, recorded by Amos. Residents were livid as dues jumped from $300 to $900. 4 board members resigned. Paul stood up at a meeting. "I warned you, Victor. You messed with the wrong guy." Margaret left in tears. This was supposed to be our retirement dream. I watched it unfold via a drone camera on a 20-foot pole, streaming to www.hoacage.com. It wasn't petty, it was proof that bullies lose when you push back. Not everyone was against me. A couple, Ethan and Sarah, approached my fence. "We're sorry," Ethan said. "Victor doesn't care about us, just control." Sarah added, "We heard you might lease plots. We'd like to join." I smiled. "Help rebuild my barn, and the first plot's free." But then a black SUV rolled up, federal plates. A Bureau of Land Management agent stepped out. "Mr. Hayes, we've received complaints about land use, air surveillance, and resource restriction." Anonymous complaints from the HOA claimed environmental disruption. My fencing, drone, and infrastructure within 500 feet of the HOA were frozen pending investigation. I laughed bitterly. They block my gate, sabotage my water, and I'm the problem? The agent shrugged. "Submit counter-evidence if you feel it's unjust." That night, Nathan and our paralegal, Clara, reviewed the paperwork. "They found a loophole," Nathan said. "An old wildlife corridor from the 1980s, technically protected, runs along your land. They're using it to stall us. It was a bureaucratic trap to drain my resources. But I don't back down, I adapt." Within 72 hours, we filed a counter-complaint with drone footage of Victor overseeing illegal wall construction, testimony from Ethan, Sarah, and Amos about HOA harassment, and cease and desist letters to the board. Then Victor upped the ante. A petition signed by 30 homeowners claimed my drone poles violated community skyline harmony. Nathan wasn't laughing. "They're making you the villain, Lucas." "Then I'll give them a villain," I said. I held a press conference at the ranch line, Stetson on, cameras rolling. "I'm Lucas Hayes, a veteran and landowner. I came for a quiet life, but the HOA blocked my gate, sabotaged my property, and filed false federal complaints. I didn't start this, but I'll finish it. Every lie is documented. I'll see them exposed in court. If that makes me the villain, I'll wear the black hat." The crowd clapped. Victor watched, red-faced, from the clubhouse steps. That night, Sarah texted, "That was epic. Homeowners are organizing to oust Victor." But trouble wasn't done. A sheriff's cruiser arrived after 9 p.m. Deputy Morgan looked exhausted. The HOA clubhouse was vandalized, spray paint, broken windows. "Victor says it was you." My stomach dropped. "Check my security cam." I was home. She nodded. "Figured. But you need to give a statement." As I returned from the station after midnight, Shadow growled toward the tree line. A loud pop cracked the air. I grabbed my flashlight, spotting 2 figures in dark clothing sprinting away. Another pop, firecrackers to distract. Then I saw smoke near my hay shed. A small fire burned by the generator cables, but recent rain kept it from spreading. I stomped it out, checked the cameras, and saw clear footage. 2 hooded figures, one with a silver watch like Victor's. I sent the footage to Nathan, who submitted it to the sheriff, county, and BLM. Victor was now under investigation for vandalism, arson, trespassing, and false reports. Meanwhile, Silver Ridge erupted. Ethan called. "You flipped the neighborhood. There's a petition to dissolve the HOA board." Victor vanished for 3 days, his house dark. Rumor was he'd fled. I sent a final letter to the remaining board members, Ellen and Marcus. Dissolve the HOA, remove barriers, restore access, and cancel false filings. In exchange, I'll waive 6 months of dues and allow trail access under a usage license. They had 48 hours. The next morning, a letter arrived at my gate. We accept your terms. Victor is removed. The HOA is dissolved. We ask for a fresh start. Signed, Ellen and Marcus. The war was over. I met Ethan, Sarah, Amos, and others to draft a new community charter based on respect and cooperation. Then, clearing brush near a trail, I found a duffel bag with HOA documents, fake filings, bribery receipts, and a burner phone tied to Victor. We turned it over to the sheriff. An arrest warrant followed. Victor was caught in another state, facing charges for fraud, trespassing, and arson. He took a plea deal. For years probation, $120,000 in restitution, and a lifetime HOA ban. His house didn't sell. I left the billboard at the Silver Ridge entrance but changed the text. Together, we built something stronger. Stone Creek Ranch welcomes all who respect the land. A plaque below read, "In memory of HOA tyranny, may it never return." At the unveiling, 60 neighbors came, families, ranchers, kids. I spoke. I fought because no one should feel powerless on their land. This ranch is a reminder. With truth and grit, you reclaim freedom. Then came a curveball. The county scheduled a hearing on property tax reassessments due to my land acquisitions. Homeowners faced triple or quadruple tax spikes, not my doing, but a result of zoning shifts and Victor's fraud. Guilt hit me. Many residents weren't involved in his schemes. So, Nathan, Clara, and I created the Neighbor Relief Pact. Homeowners who volunteered for ranch upkeep or community programs got land use rebates to offset taxes. Ethan and Sarah planted a garden. Ellen's book club painted a learning center. Marcus built benches for veterans. The ranch thrived. At a bonfire celebration, we burned a clipboard like Victor's. Shadow barked wildly. Amos arrived, handing me a wooden sign. Ranch boundaries may be fenced, but respect should always be open. We mounted it by the gate, where the barricade once stood. A final letter from the county confirmed my land was now a private ranch district, free from HOA jurisdiction forever. They blocked my gate, so I bought the landscape and tripled their dues. But the real victory was giving power back to the people who deserved it. If you rode with Lucas, tell us what you think. Ever faced HOA drama this wild? Where are you watching from?